I think that the leader of tomorrow needs to have purpose above commercial in terms of their why. And I think that we've had a tremendous shift in personal injury over the last decade of getting that balance right, but it has not gone far enough from my perspective. So all of those qualities about who we're there to serve, enabling and lifting up community alongside you, being very clear on your meaning and your why, being a good communicator at that why, so people can line up behind you and work, for that same purpose and that same vision.
I have here Stacey, Kylie, and Julie, and for today, I'm going to be known as Greggy. And congratulations on your talk this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it was shaping the future through purposeful leadership. Now, I know that you asked me just before this podcast what my question is going to be, and I just wanted to keep it a little bit secret because I'm really interested in your initial reactions. All right. So,
Okay.
yeah, a little bit daunting.
You make me nervous when you do that.
Please, yeah. That's the name of the game. But in a very, very short sentence, Stacey, what is leadership?
It is a vision for the future.
Great. Kylie, what is leadership?
Inspiring those around you to come with you for a common purpose.
And Julie, leadership.
It's bringing a vision to life through people.
Okay. Now, in our industry, what are the challenges of leadership?
That's a big question.
It's a very big question.
And look, I must admit, Stacey, when you talked about, and I want to talk about them as environmental and people and cultural, but you talked a lot about the environmental changes that the industry is going to be facing, and you might just want to give us a couple of those, because I thought, do you know what? It's very Jetsons where we're heading.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen, isn't it?
It's absolutely going to happen. So there's a couple of good pieces out there that people can read. McKinsey's 2030 paper, which really describes what the future of healthcare looks like, which I know we're in personal injury and we've got lots of parts to it. But really what I was talking about is that client-patient experience. What is that going to look like in the future? And, it's going to look really different, where we are very used to operating very process-driven, people-centric, of course, lots of controls, lots of governance, lots of pieces of paper to tell us what to do. That's really not our future. And it's certainly not how individuals will be able to access good quality healthcare, right? So, we're talking specifically about surgery. I thought that was so interesting when I was reading that. It's going to be not just that robots are going to do it, but it's going to be considered totally inappropriate, unhygienic, and amateurish to have a person doing surgery. And that's not crazy in the future.
It's happening now.
Yeah, that's sort of now, right? And I think about, we've got thousands of examples right across the country where people are waiting months and months and months and months to see not even just a surgeon, sometimes a GP or a physio, right? And to access healthcare, and they certainly don't really have any choices in it. So we talk about person-centered a lot in the industry, but I think the future of what that means is going to look very different to what we're talking about today.
And the cultural differences, Kylie. So what does this mean in the culture of whatever the organizations of tomorrow look like, the people working together?
What, in the innovation space?
No,
Or
the
culture?
challenges for the industry, because we've obviously got the environmental factors changing at a rapid pace, right? And we've also got people's use of technology at home far outstrips their use of technology in the workplace. Right? So they're racing ahead of workplaces a lot faster than the workplaces are.
Correct.
So what implications does that have for culture?
Well, it's very interesting because culture is changing as generations enter the workforce. So I think one of the challenges I see at the moment is that I've got a 21-year-old at home. You do not communicate with him by talking on the telephone. And yet we're asking, and he's actually in our industry at an entry-level role, and yet we ask case managers to pick up the phone and have conversations with injured workers. Now so we've got already a culture where into a level of discomfort with how they go about their communication. And communication is so important when we're trying to assist people getting back. And we heard Lauren talk about the importance of communication. But if you're having to communicate through a mode that you don't like or don't use yourself in your personal life, automatically that starts to change. And so if the culture is where you're doing things that are uncomfortable, you can't excel so well, do you really want to stay working in that environment? So it's a challenge for us constantly to get this balance right, where we're able to safely innovate, safely change things, but meet where our team members are, where our industry is, and where injured workers are. Because injured workers are also young now. And do they want to always have a phone call?
That's a question that I have for you too, because as a case manager communicating outwards, I have certain preferences.
Yeah.
As a young injured worker,
Yeah.
do their preferences change because they're now injured?
No. So we have to put parameters in place to make sure that there's some consistency of experience, but where we go with those and how do we shape them. And one of the things I sort of didn't touch on enough in my response up on stage about innovation is putting ourselves in the shoes of the person having the experience. We're all here and we'll have one or two keynote speakers that are talking from lived experience, but most of us haven't got lived experience. And every piece of innovation that works really well is when you actually are bringing the person experiencing that service into the sort of planning and the review and the sort of development of innovation.
But I do think that, to your point though, whilst we don't have lived experience, we all come with our own set of circumstances. So for me, being part of the LGBTQI+ community, I know that there are practices in our claims system that could be enhanced to make it more inclusive for somebody from our background. Similarly, if you come into the industry from a born overseas with a different background and everything's in English and not tailored to people's native languages, then that's an insight we can bring into our practices. So I think the cultural shift is about listening more to the voices of diversity that exist within our organisation, that are coming into our country and into our workforces. The neurodiversity topic I find absolutely fascinating. The proportion of young students being diagnosed with neurodiverse conditions will be in our workforce in the next 5 to 10 years. And our leadership is going to need to adapt. Our job design is going to need to adapt. So there is a lot of diversity learnings we can already take into our system to make it more inclusive.
Leads me to my next question. The leader of tomorrow in this industry, what qualities must they have?
So I'll jump in.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
No.
You want to write yours?
So look, I think that I'm really thinking more and more about servant leadership. I think that the leader of tomorrow needs to have purpose above commercial in terms of their why. And I think that we've had a tremendous shift in personal injury over the last decade of getting that balance right, but it has not gone far enough from my perspective. So all of those qualities about who we're there to serve, enabling and lifting up community alongside you, being very clear on your meaning and your why, being very a good communicator at that why, so people can line up behind you and work, for that same purpose and that same vision. But also somebody that is curious. I do think that the pace of change outside is so significant. You need to be tech savvy. You need to be doing a lot of reading around macro trends. You need to be thinking through their implications into industry. So customer, servant, tech savvy, adaptable, purpose-led.
And do you think our society is developing these qualities in our people?
I think our young generation's incredible. So 3 of them living in my house that challenge me every single day. So I do think that as more mature leaders in our industry, we've got a real obligation to stop talking and listen a lot more to those voices.
And what's your message to the emerging leader?
We value your opinion, so use your voice. All of us here create opportunities for people to share. We are willing and open leaders that listen when people want to share. So use your voice. We want to hear your voice, and we value your opinion. Your opinion matters almost more than ours at the moment because you're in the emerging space. you're in a very curious developmental stage of your leadership. And, we can slip into entrenched behaviours from time to time. And so we want to keep us on our toes. We value the leaders that are emerging. Absolutely. Absolutely. And wherever we can to foster the connection and support, we do.
And Stacey, I follow your career with so much affection and interest, because for those of you who don't know, we started out doing a very similar role back in the day, and we had some very challenging times, and to see what's going on around with the industry,
Incredible, isn't it?
incredible the way it's developed,
Yeah.
and also incredible to see your career. So what are some of the key learnings that you had in that time?
Yeah. I mean, loads, right? I think probably one of the biggest for me was to be brave, right? And say some of the stuff that was in here, but I never really let it come out. And I didn't run at that decision. That sort of happened, over time. For me, there were some really big moments. My son was diagnosed with autism. And, I'd been out and sort of, proud, been a leader for some time, but I wasn't mobilized. I wasn't an advocate. For me, him getting diagnosed with ASD, understanding what it took to make him happy and calm and engaged and to learn how to talk and walk wasn't on him. It was on me, right? It was all about me changing the environment that suits his needs. And so that was my first big learning, talk about it. And I did. And made people feel real uncomfortable, right? But I saw change, and I saw that creating that vision and having people come along, that servant leadership, and I saw it make a difference in people's lives. And let's try it a little bit more, right? And the reality is I've never been as successful in my career the braver I was in talking about some of the things that were really important to me, because I am a passionate purpose. I am here. I'm a passionate person, and I am here because of my purpose. I believe in it, right? I'm here because I love it. And I love leadership, and I love, engaging with our personal injury community. And when I let that be shown, it's really effective. So for me, that would be, be brave about it. And particularly for the next generation in terms of leadership, we're all a little gun shy. That's the reality. We've all been burnt, been brave, and then we got burnt.
Got told off.
Yeah, we got in trouble. That didn't work. And so, I would say culturally, we're just a little too risk adverse. Like, we need to be responsible with the innovation and the change, and we need to, care very deeply about the very personal information that we hold, and we need to respect that, of course. But I think culturally we are just a little bit too risk adverse. We need that next generation to come in and take us with them on that journey to we can go faster. We can go faster. I think they're going to help us do that.
Well, it's been my pleasure to speak to three very brave and very wonderful women, business women and women. And thank you once again for your support, because it is outstanding and we really appreciate it. And thanks for your time in Studio P.
Thanks,
Thank
Greggy.
you, Greggy. Congratulations on doing this. I remember the very first ones that you were doing. This has evolved over time.
Oh, it's the guys.
But you hold a comfortable space for us all to openly share. So thank you.
I really do appreciate the way you well, I mean, you get back to how passionate you are about what you do and why you do it.
Yeah. Correct.
And you're right. Getting the right space allows you to really communicate that passion.
And that's what I want our young leaders to feel, that we're creating that right space for them to be able to speak up. And it does take resilience, because as you said, you do get burnt sometimes. I mean, I've been made redundant a couple of times. So you have to be able to put yourself
a lot.
Exactly. But
life, right?
Exactly.
So this is awesome. Thank you.
No, well done.
Enjoy the next 2 days.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much, everybody.